Chapter 1.111 Tumbling Through Space by Sky. "Quickly," said Blizzard, still holding me. "Huddle together. Ready?" "Yes," we said, each with a look of terror. "Okay," said Blizzard. "Arms up. Sky, you too." Straightening my arms made my back shout with pain, but before I screamed, Blizzard commanded, "Islands of Time, now." It was as if the wishing chair melted away and everything we'd ever known was tumbling through space, although the space seemed really thick. We fell through earth and water, air and molten matter, past roots and subterranean creatures, going deeper and deeper. At first there were noises, creakings and moans, and then we were travelling faster than sound, faster than light, faster than anything we'd ever thought possible. Before we knew it, we'd gone into another dimension, a parallel place, somewhere near but not in the same realm as Lowood, and certainly not inside the Time Again game. We knew it wasn't far away, but how we'd ever get home, we had no idea. Right then it seemed impossible. But what wasn't? Yesterday we wouldn't have thought it was possible to find ourselves inside a computer game. Every thought in all existence seemed to crowd into our minds and jostle about for space. Good dreams and nightmares, daydreams and fairy tales. Every kind of story we'd ever known ran through our heads and scrambled our brains. It was wonderful most of the time, but suddenly it would become terrifying. Eventually, after what seemed like hours, or maybe it was days, we reached a resting place. I scarcely dared to open my eyes. "Blizzard," I said, hoping he was still with me. I waited and waited, and when Blizzard didn't reply, I slowly let my eyelids open a little. I found myself sitting high up in an enormous tree overlooking the ocean. Every shade of blue and purple shimmered and swayed with an overlay of gold as the water rippled beneath the gaze of two distant suns. I heard a low whistle. It was Ben, swaying in the fork of a branch nearby. Up above us, Minnow and Frank were sitting on a platform. It looked like the base of an old tree house. "Where's Blizzard?" I asked. Before anyone could answer, Six swooped in, her blue wings flapping fast to hold her in midair. "He's coming," she said. "See?" Blizzard was flying through the air without any wings. He looked like he'd been flying all his life. Watching him made me feel dizzy. With the smallest of thuds, he landed on the branch right next to me, his hair all over the place. He gave me a huge grin. "Excellent," he said. "We're here." "I don't feel very well," I said. Blizzard waved his hands over my head and the nausea went away. "Thank you," I said. "Where are we?" Blizzard looked around, squinting in the light. "Well, there are two suns, so I'd say we're what I call in between. This place is part dream, part reality, but it's not where we're going." "Are we still in the computer game?" asked Ben. "No," said Blizzard. "Frank and Minnow's game is part of a different reality. We're going to another place altogether." "Whoa," said Ben, as a kind of airy earthquake shook its way past us. "It's not very stable here," said Blizzard. "We can't stay for long. Just take some slow, deep breaths while you can." Ben nodded and called the message up to Frank and Minnow. "What about Jem?" I asked, my locket gleaming in the light of the suns. "Is she in this place?" "I believe she's where we're going," said Blizzard. "We'll be there soon. Quickly, let me do some magic on your wounds." Blizzard mumbled some words and waved his hands over me. A lot of the pain eased and I felt a strange calm enter my body. "Okay," said Blizzard. "Just breathe in as much oxygen as you can. We have to leave this place soon." As if to confirm Blizzard's statement, the tree made a loud creak and seemed like it might slip down the cliff at any moment. With only the ocean below, I was beyond scared. I wrapped my arms and legs tightly around my branch, and as I did, way across the ocean, I could see an island. It was as if I had telescopic eyes, and I could zoom in. Jem was there, calling out, but I couldn't quite hear what she was saying. Something about a ransom. After a few seconds, the island disappeared. "I just saw Jem," I shouted. "Great," said Blizzard. "When it's time, we'll find her." "But she's just over there." "No, she's not," said Blizzard. "I saw her." Blizzard smiled. "Trust me, this place is part dream. It's not real. You've been given a clue, though. It'll help us find her." I felt my heart sink. Seeming as though he could read my mind, Blizzard said, "Don't lose hope. It will give evil an advantage." I frowned. "It's so hard," I said. "I know," said Blizzard, "but Jemima is part of you. If you don't believe you can find her, what chance does she have?" I sighed. "Okay, what next?" "We're going to the Islands of Time," said Blizzard. "What are they?" called Frank. "The home of the real time game," shouted Blizzard. "Ready?" Chapter 1.1111 Gabriel by Sky. Before we could reply to Blizzard, there was a sudden burst of gold far away near the horizon. "It's Gabriel," I said. In no time at all, a huge archangel hovered before us, his 6 massive wings moving slowly up and down. His hair was the deepest brown, and his eyes were so dark as to be almost black. Gabriel's skin was also really dark, and his face shone as if lit from inside. His smile was so kind. "Sky," he said, "all of the heavens have heard that your wings were taken." "It was the thieves," I said, my voice shaking. "Your wings will return," said Gabriel. "I promise." I felt a surge of relief. "Until they do, I'm going to give you the ability to shapeshift." I smiled. It felt so good to have Gabriel near me. "All you need to do is choose a flying creature," said Gabriel. Then you'll be able to transform." "How?" I asked. "Just by thinking about a bird or a bat or anything that flies." "Thank you," I said, feeling so glad that I knew Gabriel. "What about Six and Jem? Although you know that the thieves took Jem and her wings." Gabriel looked sad. "I do know," he said, "but I live in the hope that she'll be found. And yes, of course, Six and Jem can shapeshift too. They're you." Gabriel smiled at me and nodded formally. Then he looked at Blizzard and said, "Take care of her." "It will be an honour," said Blizzard. "Sky," added Gabriel, "be brave. You have good friends. Remember to trust in the good." I smiled as Gabriel swept away, his enormous wings carrying him out of sight in less than a few seconds. Six swooped up to me. "Can I morph into a falcon?" she asked, "and fly really fast?" "Of course," I said. "When we find Jem, she can be a hummingbird," said Ben, buzzing her wings at 100 times per second. "Sky could be a swan," suggested Blizzard. "Knowing me, I'd end up with the ducklings and feel ugly," I said. "No," said Minot, "I'll be a swan with you." I smiled, feeling a little better. "I think I'd rather be a sea eagle," I said. "Dad and I used to love them." Minot nodded. "Perfect," she said. "Go on then," said Ben. "No way," I said. "Maybe when we're somewhere safer." Blizzard nodded. "Good idea," he said. "We can't stay here much longer. Good to go?" "Yes," we all shouted. "Will we get there at the same time?" asked Minot. "Not sure," said Blizzard, "but I warn you, where we're going, magic is actually in the air." "Really?" I asked. "Magic air?" "The best," said Blizzard. "Now, to the Islands of Time." With a sudden jolt, I was no longer high up in a tree. I was being hurtled through time and space. Again. On the way, we passed by screams of laughter and cries of agony, the sound of children giggling and the chaotic noise of dogs barking at their enemies. Colours flashed all around us, and the smells changed from fresh strawberries to the scent of gum trees, and then the stench of the worst toilet in the universe. It was exciting and terrifying all at once. Both Minnow and Frank have been on the most gigantic drop at Kingsworld, but they say that our free fall was far worse. It seemed to go on forever. The force of the drop sent Minnow's plait high above her head, like a long spear. Frank and Ben were in their element. They both love adrenaline. Of course, Six was in heaven. She'd become a falcon and was plummeting through time and space without a care in the world. A moment or two after I finally stopped feeling terrified, we all landed ever so gently onto a thick cloud high above the islands of time. I found myself slumped beside Blizzard. "You have a wizard's hat," I said. Blizzard smiled as the hat gave him some sunglasses. They were round and red. As Blizzard put them on, he said, "I don't always take my hat on adventures, but he does love me, so he always seeks me out when I return from my travels. He's very shy, though, and mostly likes to remain invisible, except for special occasions, and this is most certainly a special occasion." "Hello," said Blizzard's hat. "Hello," I said. "I'm Sky." "Hat's the name," said Blizzard's hat, and then he disappeared. "What can I say?" asked Blizzard. "He's an introvert." Ben put his hands on his head. "Oh, man," he said. "I lost my beanie." "Still got mine," said Frank, clearly as happy as a dolphin. "Mine's gone too," said Minnow. "And mine," I said. "Don't worry," said Blizzard. "I have a friend who's an excellent knitter. She'll make you new ones." We all beamed at Blizzard. I shook my head, wondering if I was in a dream. "Are we really on a cloud?" I asked. "Really," said Blizzard with a big smile. "The Desgul can't follow us here, can they?" I asked. "No way," said Blizzard. "There's too much magic, too much good. They'd never survive." I breathed a huge sigh of relief. As I did, I could feel myself relaxing, starting to feel safe.